Highways look empty at night, but they hide the darkest dangers. From fake cops with crowbars, to strangers waiting at gas stations, to sabotaged cars and even attempted kidnappings, these are 5 chilling encounters from the open road that will make you think twice before driving alone at night. It was a quiet summer night in the California desert. A 19-year-old college student, exhausted from a long shift at his part-time job, was driving his aging Honda Civic back to campus. The road was nearly empty, lit only by the occasional glow of distant truck headlights and the faint shimmer of the moon over the sand. With a bag of leftover fast food sitting in the passenger seat and his favorite playlist playing softly, the ride felt peaceful. The stretch of highway was familiar, long, straight, and usually uneventful. Every few miles, a neon diner or darkened rest stop appeared like a flicker of civilization before vanishing again into blackness. The young driver glanced at the clock on the dashboard, just past midnight. He thought about how the next town wasn't far, maybe 15 minutes away, and he'd be back in his dorm room within the hour. He leaned back, stretched his shoulders, and let out a sigh of relief, thinking the hardest part of his night was over. But as he crested a small rise, a pair of red and blue lights suddenly appeared in his rearview mirror, lights that changed the entire course of his night. The flashing strobes immediately tightened a knot in his stomach. He hadn't been speeding, and the road had been nearly empty for miles. Still, instinct kicked in. When you see flashing lights behind you, you pull over. He eased onto the shoulder, dust kicking up behind his tires. The patrol car stopped a few feet back. Something about it felt off. It wasn't the classic black and white cruiser he'd seen around town. Instead, it looked like a regular dark sedan with magnetic lights slapped onto the roof. No siren, no markings. The young driver's pulse quickened. His father had once warned him, if the car doesn't look right, or the officer isn't in uniform, stay in your vehicle. Real cops won't mind if you call 911 to confirm. That memory came rushing back. The figure stepped out of the sedan. He wasn't wearing a police uniform. Instead, he had jeans, a dark jacket, and what looked like a baseball cap pulled low. In his right hand, he wasn't holding a flashlight or a ticket pad, he was gripping a metal crowbar. The man started walking toward the Civic, slowly, like he had all the time in the world. The desert was silent except for the crunch of boots on gravel. The young driver's heart hammered in his chest. He didn't know who this man was, but one thing was clear, this wasn't a traffic stop. This was something far more dangerous. Frozen in his seat, the young driver's mind raced. His phone sat in the cup holder, his hand shot for it. He dialed 911 with trembling fingers, whispering his location as the figure came closer. The dispatcher's voice was calm but firm, stay in your vehicle. Lock the doors. Real deputies are on the way. The officer reached the rear bumper of the Civic and dragged the crowbar along the trunk, the screeching sound slicing through the night. The young driver flinched. He prayed the dispatcher could hear it. The man leaned toward the driver's side window, but the Civic's doors were locked. His face was shadowed, unreadable. He tried the handle. Yanked it. Then circled toward the passenger side, crowbar tapping rhythmically against the glass. The dispatcher repeated, "Do not get out. Do not engage. If you can drive, drive to the nearest public place." Adrenaline surged. The driver knew he had two choices: sit still and hope the stranger didn't smash through the window, or take the risk of fleeing into the night. He made his decision in an instant. Throwing the Civic into gear, he slammed his foot on the accelerator. The tires spun, spitting gravel as the car lurched forward. Behind him, headlights flared. The sedan roared to life and surged after him. The desert highway stretched endlessly ahead, dark and empty. The young driver's eyes darted between the road and the mirror, where the glowing orbs of headlights grew larger and closer. His Civic rattled at speeds it was never meant to reach. "Stay on the line," the dispatcher ordered. "Where are you headed?" "Truck stop, 2 miles," he shouted, voice cracking. The sedan drew closer, closing the gap. Its lights flashed again, red and blue strobes strobing across the asphalt. But the Civic's taillights held steady, pushing past 80, 90, the steering wheel shaking in his grip. Finally, the glowing lights of a 24-hour truck stop appeared ahead. He swerved off the highway, blasting the horn. Semi-trucks loomed like giants in the lot. The sedan slowed at the edge of the entrance, then turned sharply and disappeared into the night. The young driver pulled up beside a parked semi, shaking so hard he could barely hold the wheel. Within minutes, a real county deputy arrived, lights flashing, badge shining clearly. The officer listened carefully as the student poured out the entire story. He pointed to the scratches along his trunk, the marks of a crowbar etched in metal. The deputy nodded gravely. "That wasn't one of us," he said firmly. "We've had reports of people impersonating law enforcement along this stretch. You did the right thing, you called, and you didn't stop anywhere secluded." The words were both comforting and chilling. The driver realized how narrowly he had escaped a fate far worse than a speeding ticket. Not everyone with flashing lights is a protector. Sometimes predators use symbols of authority to disarm their prey. The story of the young driver is a chilling reminder: instincts exist for a reason. Real police won't threaten with weapons or demand you leave the safety of your car. Trust your gut, confirm identities, and never assume that danger always looks like danger. Sometimes, it looks like safety first.